Everyone. Welcome to our Write Your Story episode in a continuing series inside of our Writers Education program. Today, our presenter is Jim Tritten, a retired Navy carrier pilot who lives in rural New Mexico with his Danish author/artist wife and an ever-changing number of cats. He is the 2023 MWSA Writer of the Year and the 2023 Southwest Writer Paris Award winner. He received the Alfred Thayer Mahan Award for Literary Achievement in 1986 from the Navy League of the United States for his professional and academic writing. I'm looking forward to seeing Jim and his wife and writing partner, Jasmine, in Kansas City a little over a month from now, where I'll be honored to hang medals around both of their necks. Jim's will be tighter if he brings up anything about silver versus gold wings. Over to you, Jim.
All right, so a very nice day in August to be talking about writing, and this is the last of a series of either 4 or 5 presentations where we talked about why you might want to write and how to go about it, and this is the last part, which is the plot and story arc. So, have you ever heard of Freytag's pyramid? Probably not. But this is the normal way that people who talk about plot and story arcs, they usually refer to something that's got rising action and then falling action. And they either have 5 or 6 different parts to it. But this is actually too simple. It's not quite that simple. There's another way to look at it. There's your classic story structure on the left, which is just this up and down. Well, then if you believe in the 3-act structure, then you have little ups and downs along the way. And then you have the Fitchian curve, which is lots of little ups and downs until the final climax and then a slide down to the end. And the hero's journey, which doesn't have a peak at all. You just keep going around and around. So let's look at these in a little bit more detail. If you buy into the classic story structure, you have to sort of define the normal world, and then you're going to have something come up that causes action. Without action, there's no story. And then you reach a climax, and then there's residual action at the end and a conclusion. Very simplistic, but it actually does work in certain cases. This one here reflects the idea that there's more than one crisis that's going to occur, and they're going to build upon each other, and then again reach a climax and then falling action with a resolution at the end. So if this fits what you have in mind, then it's perfectly okay. The 3-act structure with Act 1, 2, and 3, inciting incidents with a little bit of rising action and then falling to the plot point 1, then again go through it the second time to the midpoint, and then a final climax at the end with a denouement at the to tie up all the loose ends. This is one of my favorites, which is the hero's journey. For those of you who've looked at Yasmin and my Cato's Grand Adventure, it's a hero's journey. The fact that the hero is a cat, actually a kitten, is immaterial. There's an ordinary world, and then there's something happens to the ordinary world. You define the ordinary world, and then we're going to go out on a quest. In the case of the Cato's Grand Adventure, the kitten escapes from the car and is all of a sudden lost. The call for adventure is going home. The hero's journey fits that perfectly. All along the way, they meet people who help. Cato meets people who help, and then they succeed, and then they need more help, and then they need more help, and they have more things until the very end when Cato or Odysseus gets back home, and all is copacetic once again. So, how does that work for history? Autobiographies or biographies, in other words, not fiction, but something based on truth. Well, it ain't that simple, because life doesn't occur the way those plot outlines. Even the hero's journey, life doesn't work like that. Life is full of ups and downs, and so if you are writing a nonfiction story, then you are going to have to follow what actually happened. And it may not be the best way to write a fictional story, but it's based on truth. Uh, so you either have an ending in history that is favorable, or you have an ending in history that is not necessarily favorable. If we were writing a history of Hungary, we would have a hard time finding a favorable outcome to any of the wars that they have ever been in. And I only mention that because I'm part Hungarian and have done a little bit of research in there. Then we have memoir. Okay, well, memoir, how does that differ from an autobiography or a biography? Those two are going to be your whole life. A memoir is going to be just one little piece of that life. So it's going to have a story, and it's going to be like a short story. It's going to be something that occurred, and then it stopped. And then we're going to shift to another story. And that story may not be the thing that happened next in your life, which is what you would do in an autobiography or a biography, but it may be what happened in the next story that you want to tell. So in this case, I've diagrammed out the first story that I told in the memoir didn't have a happy ending. The second one did. And then there's romance, and that's got a whole thing of its own. The plot and story diagram for a romance is boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. If it doesn't end with a happy ending, it is not a romance. Now, where you can have a few ups and downs, that's okay, as long as at the end the couple gets together and there's a happy ending. That, by definition, is what is a romance. So, do we do characters or plot first? That's interesting. And there's no wrong answer. Let's look at some character-driven novels. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The stories about Charlie Chan. Do people care what the story is, or are they just reading another Sherlock Holmes story because they like that character? That's the way I look at it. I love to read Nero Wolfe stories. I love to read detective stories where you really can identify with the character and just see what kind of adventure they get into this time. A Gentleman in Moscow. Character-driven. How about a plot-driven novel? And Then There Were None, or The Da Vinci Code. Those are good examples of two ways to approach how you'd write something long enough to be considered a novel. You can go one way or the other. No wrong answer. You can do it any way you want. How about how do you play with with the plot in a character-driven story? Okay, so we touched on this one earlier. If it's nonfiction, the plot is what really happened. History drives the plot. That's either going to be chronological or not, but it's going to be based on what really happened in the character's experience. In fiction, you get some choices. You can showcase the characters with a plot that demonstrates something to that reader, or you can manipulate the plot in order to support the story themes with a story goal. And the author's job is to decide when to reveal what to the reader. To Kill a Mockingbird, a superb book, a superb movie, fiction. The plot is manipulated in order to come up with the themes that author, Harper Lee, wanted to have the readers discover. How many basic plots are there? Because all of these are going to have different arcs. Look at all those choices. The ones in the lower right are the ones I like to constantly remind myself of. Are we doing man versus man, man versus society, man versus nature? Those are basic plots. But now look at some of these other ones. Coming of age stories, they're very popular. depending on the audience you're writing for. In New Mexico, we all know about Bless Me Ultima. That's a great coming of age story. It's a wonderful story. You have some that actually peel back the onion. That's a basic way that mysteries are. You get the whole onion, and you got to get through it all in order to get to what the truth is. You have ticking clocks, 11th hour, as a basic plot. You've got the hero discovers a bomb. The bomb is set to go off in 3 hours. That's how the arc's going to work. You got 3 hours to solve the problem. A day in the life of. We just did one of those for military writers. Remember, that was a couple of years ago. We had a anthology, and the writing prompt for that anthology was, what happened in one day in your life? And I was able to dust off something and submit it because I had written something in 2012 that I thought I'd never find a home for. And it was the state of New Mexico was 100 years old, and the state historian put in the newspaper that day, everybody write down what you did that day, and then send it to us. We'll put it in a time capsule, and we're going to open it up in 100 years. So I did. I had a lot of fun writing that day. Yasmin, I'd put it on an airplane, and it was, there's no story arc. It's what happened that day. It's factual. It's real. It's not me inventing anything. Basic plots involving sidekicks. You got dialogue in stories because you need people to explain to the reader what's going on. And exposition, just data dumping, is not really very popular. It's also boring. But when Sherlock Holmes turns to Dr. Watson and says, this is what you didn't know, and here's how I can tell, the reader learns through dialogue. I hate the Charlie Chan movies where you don't get the ending till the end, and there's no way in the world you could have figured it out. I was just listening to one of those, and I was like, a typical Charlie Chan ending. No way to predict what happens at the end. Two guys in the chain gang escape. What's that movie with Paul Muni? I Was a Fugitive from a Chain Gang. Terrific movie. Great acting. Blue Moons. Something happens once in a while, like the werewolf. Internal and external. I'm at war with myself, or I'm at war with somebody else. Those are all basic ideas for plots if you're struggling with, how do I want to organize my story? Basic mystery plots are a little bit different. And there's lots of variations on who believes which mystery plots are the basic plot lines. There's revenge. There's possession of something, like treasure, and relief from something, blackmail. Essentially, all mysteries can be, in my opinion, can be summarized in those ways. The plot arcs would look a little bit different depending on what you're trying to do. A typical Sherlock Holmes mystery is going to be an examination of each of the suspects, elimination of that suspect, and then you move on to the next one until you finally get to the one that you've either been sort of figuring did it, or you may not even discover that person exists until a little bit into the story. But the story arc ends as each character is eliminated from the whodunit. The time lock is, as I mentioned earlier, you got to solve something before something bad happens. The bomb is going to go off. And so they've got to solve that one. I like to incorporate both of those. Plot timeline choices. There's one. Who's read Ulysses? I mean, be honest. Who's really read Ulysses? Oh, Jack, of course you did. It's one day. It all occurs in one day. That sounds just like what I wrote when the state turned 2012, and I thought I'd never find a home for it until MWSA said, we got an anthology coming out. We want you to write about what you did in one day. I said, I got one of those. Most autobiographies and biographies are done chronologically, but not always. Out of sequences. The Bridge of San Luis Rey. They all die, and the rest of the book is a flashback. How did that happen? That's an interesting technique. Slaughterhouse-Five, often used in films like in Pulp Fiction, out of sequence. You get the ending, and then you got to figure out how did they get there. And it's a good story. It's just a different way to do plot arcs. Steps. Just let's go over them and review what we think we've learned. You start out with setting up who, what, where, and when. You get the hook, and you introduce the main characters. That's the beginning part of the plot arc. And then we got to have some conflict. The conflict is where the protagonist sets the story goal. Progress is made without many complications until you reach a point of no return in which the main characters are committed to move forward. And then you have problems, tensions from complications, collapses, temporary setbacks, reversals or new paths, and then the rise from the ashes to the climax, the face-off, the big reveal. So, how about if you now open your computers or take a piece of paper and a pencil, and I want you to do an exercise. And I'm going to give you two choices, and then we're going to stop, and we're going to give you a few minutes to write this down yourself. You can do one of two things. On the left side, think of something that happened during 1 hour of your life that has a beginning and a middle and an end. Not your whole life, not even a week, not even a day, 1 hour. Then write down the outline of 3 plot points in that story, the beginning, the middle, and the end. After you've outlined your 3 plot points that will be a story of what happened in 1 hour of your life, write a single paragraph using that outline. Fill in the blanks to tell your little story. Don't rewrite it. Don't think really hard about how you could do it better. Just do it. Okay? Now, if you would prefer to draw a story arc, same thing. Think of something that happened in part of your life, a slice of your life. Use no words. Just put your pen on a piece of paper and draw what that would look like. Start at the beginning, end at the end, and label those major turning points. I went to a leadership course many, many years ago, and that's how they started us out, was show us your story arc. Use no words. Draw it. And it was amazing at how many people who were at that stage in their life and their career did not have a upward slope without the hiccups along the way. And that was the big reveal. So we're going to go ahead and stop, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes because I don't want you to think too hard about this. Write about something or draw it out. John, we'll just stay here and look at ourselves while they wrapping it up. And then I'm going to ask if anybody wants to share what they wrote. I see one hand raised. There it is. All right. I think we got enough heads up. Jack is still writing, but he'll write forever. He was a lawyer, or he is a lawyer. I'm sorry, he wasn't. He still is. All right. All right. Why don't we go ahead and unmute and go ahead and start. Nancy, that's you.
Oh, okay. Well, you said to write down 3 plot points. The first one, I was racing to get to my mom in the hospital. The second one, driving on the interstate, and I came upon a truck laden with lumber. And the third plot point, the straps started to snap one by one. And do you want me to read what I wrote about it? No?
That's great, but that was good that you shared the plot points. So now we'll see how did you take that and then weave that into a paragraph.
Drawing closer, I had an uneasy feeling. A voice said, "Those straps are going to break." I said, "What?" The voice repeated, "Those straps are going to break. Put the pedal to the floor and get past him now." I did, and as I overtook the truck, I saw one by one straps holding lumber in place snap and flail uselessly in the air. The load of lumber shifted and spilled onto the interstate, missing the back of my car by a foot.
Hey, very good. So, was that a new technique for you, or was that something that you normally would do anyway?
Um, Actually, it's pretty normal for me.
Good.
And that rarely
So,
happened, by the way.
right, good. Well, I'm glad that that's a technique that you find. Do you now? This is obviously a technique that you can't use for an entire book, but
No,
when you gotta write a vignette, a scene, it doesn't have to be very complicated. You just need to know where you're starting from, a little place to for midpoint, and then you need to know where your ending is. Do you like to know where your endings are when you write?
sometimes, not necessarily when I'm writing fiction. Um, my last novel, the characters, when I would sleep, the characters would talk to me
All
and
right.
say, "I'm really not a bad guy. You got to give me a chance here." So it
Okay.
changed what I was going to do.
So writing plot arcs and story arcs is difficult if you don't know what the ending is. And
Exactly.
it's a perfectly satisfactory technique to go along with it. I like to know the ending myself, but
Yeah.
that's just the way I am. Okay, who else?
I've written many short stories and I always know how it's going to end.
And I do the same for my, actually I do the same for my novels. I know where they end. The short stories, sometimes it depends on how much time I've had to write them. I respond well to these timed ones, 15 minutes, write something, and it's just flowing out. It's just flowing. I have no idea where I'm going. It's just coming out of me. And when I'm done, I go, oh, I'm done because it's 15 minutes. All right. Okay. Who wants to share what they wrote or drew? Do I have to call on somebody? Come on.
I can give mine. I'm trying to figure out this chat thing. I have said that I can tell of my 1 hour if that's permissible. I'll
You muted yourself. Johnny, you muted yourself. We can't hear you. There you go.
Yeah, here I am. Here I am. Did you get all what I said and hopefully wasn't muted at the time? I have an hour of
No.
life.
Okay. You
Okay.
said you put it in chat. Is that what you did?
Well, this I'm trying to figure out. I haven't used, I'm the retired guy, probably like most of y'all, but I haven't used Zoom in a long time, so I'm figuring it out as we go along. That's why I
Well,
actually find on.
just read it. Just read what you wrote. You don't have to.
Okay.
We don't have to see anything.
All right, good, good. This is a true story. What I wrote in my third book of my autobiography, Master Chief Sea Stories, and I'm just off the top of my head is an hour of my life. We was at dinner with the Noschettis in San Remo, Italy. We met, and okay, I won't go into the whole story. I'll just read what I wrote here. After the invitation, we went to a small apartment, a high-rise apartment building. And as a boy from the hills, I'd never seen or never been in a high-rise apartment like it. So that was interesting in itself, walking up those steps. We had dinner. It was an amazing dinner. Antipasta, several courses, and there was the son Marco who invited us had wonderfully translated discussion throughout the evening. Him being the only one that could speak English, and none of us knowing enough Italian that was appropriate for that um, time and place. But the communication flowed with the wine, and as we were going along, enjoying ourselves, dinner was calming down. Marco's father asked, "What do Americans call Italians?" And Ed was the smart one of the bunch of the three shipmates of us that were there. He replied, so I won't even go into what he said, but he replied, and everybody laughed. After Marco looked it up in the dictionary, what it meant, he told his father, and he laughed. So that was all right. And then afterwards, the father became very serious and said, "Thank you for saving us from Hitler." And again, Ed responded, and he said, "Well, tell our fathers." And all that to me was pretty moving. And at the end of it all, the grandmother and mother did all the cleanup, and the boys off the ship, and myself, and Marco, and his father went out onto the terrace, overlooked the Mediterranean Sea, drinking limoncello. And for a 19-year-old boy, that was a heck of an experience. So that's my 1 hour deal. It might have been an hour and a half, maybe.
Johnny. So what are the 3 plot points? You have a group and you're going to go have a dinner with a family. That's
Well,
one.
Okay.
What's 2?
Well, the 2 is while our discussion, during our discussion, I learned of culture and tried to understand the culture. And
Okay.
at the end was the satisfaction of being somewhere and happily being involved with something that a hill boy would never have otherwise been involved in if he wasn't a sailor.
Okay. All right. So you have a lot of life experiences that you want to capture and you want to get them on paper.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Did anybody try to draw it? I don't see anybody looking positive there oh, wait a minute. You drew it also, Nance?
I did, but I didn't have too many squiggles.
Okay. That's okay. You had your
Just kind of
story
a steady climb, and then it dropped off.
and it dropped off. Okay.
After the
Anybody,
lover came off, it dropped off.
anybody else want to share their 3 plot points and a paragraph that they wrote?
Jim, if nobody else wants to, I can.
Go ahead, Bob.
All right. See if I can read my writing here. Several of the passengers were already trying to sleep as the stretch DC-8 started its nighttime takeoff. A loud pop and sudden deceleration of the aircraft grabbed everyone's attention. The plane slid to the side of the runway before running off the end of the runway. A stewardess opened the emergency exit over the wing, and smoke bellowed in, and firelight could be seen. People started screaming. And that's
Okay,
true.
so and we're leaving this story before the resolution.
Right. Yeah. This is just the three parts.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's good. Do you use this technique of, sort of outlining where you want to go when you do your writing of your books?
No, actually, I don't usually outline at all.
You don't use the
I start writing, yeah, at all. So that's it. But it's fun to do.
Again, no wrong way. It's whichever way works for you. Jack, you look like you want to say something.
If you want something, I mean, if you're ready to move on, we can move on. But if you want more, I'll give you a little bit more.
Sure, go ahead.
So my 3 plot points. I left the hotel on Oxford Street. We went to Waterloo Station. We arrived in Greenwich Park to start the marathon. Those are the 3 plot points.
Okay.
The infill is we left the hotel on Oxford Street and walked until we got to Oxford Station, where we saw a lot of other people wearing their running clothes crowding into the tube stop. We made the tube stop all the way to Waterloo, where we joined the train station, and lots more runners were wearing their running clothes. But these all were wearing plastic trash bags, the same kind you line your bins with, because it had started to rain. As the train made its way to Greenwich, everything outside turned black. It rained buckets like only it can rain in London. And they discharged us at the Greenwich station, and we climbed up the observation hill where Greenwich Mean Time begins. And the rain poured. And then when the gun went off, everyone tore off their bags, threw them on the wet ground. The race started and people began to fall.
Hey, good. Good example. All right.
And yes,
Any questions for Jack or Bob or Johnny or Nancy? Nancy, go ahead. You got your hand up.
Jack, the visual that I had was runners falling like the rain falling. Is that what you intended to do? I liked it.
The visual was what, please, Nancy?
The runners falling like the rain falling.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And that's absolutely what was happening.
Yeah, that was
As soon
great.
as the gun started, people started flipping those plastic trash bags off, throwing them onto the wet tarmac. And as you went, half the people were falling and the other half were stepping on them.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the beginning of the London Marathon.
Sounds like a fun time.
It was. About an hour later, the sun came out and everybody ran out of water.
All right. Anybody else want to share one, or do we move on? There's not much left. So we have time if you want to. Wes, you got your hand up? You want to try one?
We'll give it a shot.
Hey, Wes, I didn't see you there.
Yeah, it was interesting. We all jumped. The spot was initially good, but the clouds rolled over, obscuring the ground. I couldn't know where I was, but I followed a group of chutes heading in a certain direction. Then they disappeared. The group of chutes that I was following disappeared into the clouds below. Finally, I saw a road. The clouds opened up and I saw a road, so I knew where I was in relation to the drop zone. So I continued on my path, on my flight. The clouds opened up over huge power lines, but my wind speed was being matched by my forward speed. So I did a 180 to go away from the power lines and did another 180 to do a landing approach and landed in the brush. Actual happening.
So that didn't take 1 hour of your life. That took how many minutes, roughly?
Oh gosh, maybe about 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing too. Now, what are the challenges of writing a story based on 10 minutes of your life?
Oh,
If you wanted to take this and move forward with it and make it into a story, my first jump, my last jump, something like that. What would be the challenges that you have as the writer communicating to the reader what's going on?
emotions, adrenaline, what's going
Okay.
through my mind.
So that's the key. You don't have another person to do dialogue with.
No.
And so you have to find a way to do your interior thoughts, or you could do a buddy jump. I know that's not what you did, but I mean, if you wanted to fictionalize it, you could do a buddy jump and the two of you could talk to each other. And you could be saying things like, oh my goodness, is that where we're supposed to go? No, we're not supposed to go there. We got to go over here by that tree. Oh, watch out for that tree. I mean, you could do things like that. And that's why I wanted to get into it. John, you got your hand up. Are we running out of time?
No, I got a quick one. If
Okay.
you got some time, and it's a kind of a combination because I didn't think about it until your writing prompt. But the line, it's pretty much fits in an hour, and the lines go all the way. It starts off going down below the page, and then up above the page within about an hour. The plot points are figuring out how to put a flag on a coffin as an escort officer. The second one is being alone in a hangar waiting for a connection. A good buddy of mine was the one in the casket that I was escorting, and then the last plot point was what a flight attendant said to me. Those are the 3 points, and I'll just go through it quickly. I found out, that I was going to be an escort officer, and you're frantically trying to figure out how to do it right. how to put a flag on a coffin, which was my job all the time, of course. We were waiting for a connection, and I'm inside of an airport cargo, sitting in a chair next to my friend inside the casket, and you can imagine what's going through my mind at that time. And then I get on the airplane, and I'm explaining to the flight attendant that I'm wearing, of course, my Class A uniforms, and I go up to her and I tell her I need to be the first person off the airplane. And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I'm serving as an escort officer." And she said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, my friend is down in the cargo compartment." And she said, "What's he doing down there?" So I went from from being close to tears or in tears to just laughing, and that was kind of like a quick describing going what a roller coaster emotionally as far as plot points.
So have you written that story yet?
No, I probably need to do that.
You got it all outlined there. I mean, and it's a good story. You're going from angst to explaining, and then you're going to have you have to get a good ending, and that's terrific. Very good, John. Glad you spoke up. Anybody else, or shall we move on? There's only a couple of more slides to go. All right, I will take that as move on. Okay, this is to complicate. Now that you've mastered this, we're going to complicate it again. Here's another way to look at these story arcs. There's a man in the hole. A character gets into trouble, and he gets out of trouble at the end, and he's better off for it. Arsenic and old lace. You know, at the end of the story, everybody lives happily ever after, and the bad guys get punished. Boy meets girl. Jane Eyre. Boy loses girl. Boy gets girl back. From bad to worse. Are there bad endings? Are there really bad endings in stories that are successful? When was the last time you watched the Twilight Zone episode? How many of them have great endings for the characters involved? After all, the book is to serve man, right? Which way is up? Ambiguity. Knowing whether the things that are happening are good or bad. The creation story. Everybody's going to get better as they go ahead on that story, unless you're in the Old Testament, in which case, not necessarily. Sometimes there's bad endings there. New Testament, there's a bad ending, but then there's a resurrection at the end, so it's good at the end. And then there's Cinderella, the bad ending, and then there's the good ending. What about subplots? We've only been talking about the main plot, and that's not the way it works, is it? In a novel, I mean, you can get away with one basic plot line for short stories, but you can't do that in a book. You're going to have subplots where you're not just tracking what's going on with the protagonist as he's driving the story forward, but then you're going to have to do the antagonist who is resisting that protagonist, and what's his story arc look like? And then, of course, you got the supporting characters, and how do you feed them in? And do they all come together? The one thing to remember about subplots and minor characters is remember to keep track of them and make sure they have an exit, that they don't just disappear and you forget about them. You got to tie up all those loose ends at the end, by the end of the book. What else to think about? I've said this before, so I'll say it again. Without conflict, there's no story. Protagonist versus antagonist. There's going to be other conflicts, but that's the one you got to deal with. Tension. All conflict needs tension. And then tie up all those loose ends. Unless it's a series. So if you're reading the Aubrey Maturin sailing ship stories, or Sharp in the Napoleonic era, each story ends with a hint that there's going to be a follow-on. There's a promotion, there's a new ship, whatever. There's a new war to go fight. And you don't tie up all the loose ends. You just tie up what you need to in order to generate the next story. The last slide. 15 minutes can be as long as you need to prepare a short story. You don't need story arcs for this one. You just do stream of consciousness and passion. Let me give you a perfect example. I'm at the VA Creative Arts Festival, which is held every year for the gold medal winners, and it was in Des Moines, Iowa. Never been there before. I go in there and they're going to teach class. They're going to teach classes. An Army guy is going to teach classes about writing. It was terrific. He taught classes for about 3 days. Everybody in the room was a gold medal winner. Everybody knew how to write. Everybody had PTSD. So the instructor got us all spun up. He started a discussion. What do you guys think about people who come up to you and tell you, thank you for your service? Well, 13 of us all had opinions, and we all voiced those opinions. And he got that room all spun up with everybody thinking about how do you respond to people who come up to you and say, thank you for your service. Everybody in that room was a Vietnam veteran. Everybody in that room had an opinion. And then he just said, stop, open your computers, take a piece of paper, 15 minutes, write it. I have no idea what I was going to write. It flowed out of me. It just flowed. There's no arc. There was no thought. The brain was not engaged. It was just coming out of me. And when I was done, I read it to the group. I changed one word and I submitted it for publication, and it was published in the Albuquerque Journal for Veterans Day. And you didn't need a whole heck of a lot of preparation. You just needed a lot of passion. And those can be good stories. Those can be great stories. A full novel can take you multiple years to finish. So at the one hand, you can be done in 15 minutes. On the other hand, let's see, I've got a book I started in 2009. It's still not published. Outline or not, your choice. You can do it both ways. Online tools can help. I use them all the time. Get yourself used to writing short stories so that you know how to write a chapter. And if you got any questions, everything you need to know is already in Jack's book, A Novel Approach. So make sure you got this book, even if you already know how to write. Go through it again and see what you forgot you knew. If you got any questions, if you're watching this as a recording, you can either send me an email and I'll be happy to answer, or I'll see you in Kansas City and I'll be happy to shake your hand and thank you for coming to the conference. I think that's the end. John?
Great. I think you can probably stop sharing your screen and we'll switch over to the gallery view and start taking questions.
Okay. Stop share. Got it. And I saw there were a bunch of things in chat. I assume that some of those are questions.
I have a question.
You always do.
Why do you think the Da Vinci Code is a novel?
You're right. You're right. That was an assumption on my part, wasn't it?
You've got to come up with a better example than the Da Vinci Code for any point you want to make.
No, I like to use his books because I can always find something that I was into the story until this. And
I
when
was into the story until the second sentence.
Oh, no. I can go further than that. It was when the Caravaggio or whatever the Monsignor, who is the temporary Pope, jumps out of a helicopter with his cape and lands in the middle of St. Peter's Square. I mean, come on. Okay, I got he was a helicopter pilot for the Italian army. I got that. I buy into that. Jumping out of a helicopter and landing safely with nothing more than your cassock? No. At that point, it was bullshit. And each one of his books has got a point where I go, that's the end of that. I'm not watching it. I'm not reading anymore. Any other questions?
That was my question. So many good books out there. So many good fiction and nonfiction books. Surely you can find your example.
I'll tell you what, Jack, you take my slides, I'll send them to you, and you change them to whatever examples you think are better, and then I'll use them in Kansas City.
Just go through my old slideshows. You'll find something.
I do. You did such a good job with what's the one in Hawaii? I can't think of the name right now. You know what I'm talking about.
That was called Pearl Harbor.
No. The book where Frank Sinatra's in it and Deborah Kerr.
Yes.
I'm drawing a blank on the title, but you know what I'm talking.
I
You
do.
did a whole course on that.
From Here to
fun?
Eternity.
Yeah, From Here to Eternity.
From
Yeah,
Here
that's
to
a great
Eternity.
book, and those are perfect examples for each of the things that you pointed out. That
It
was
was
a
a
great.
perfect example for the class you just taught.
Well,
It
but
has
that
an
would take
above the
too much
line, a
work.
below the line, rising and falling, appearance and disappearance of conflict,
There we
subplots and
go.
primary plots, and
All right.
resolution.
I'll send you my slides anyway. You retool them From Here to Eternity, and then I'll still use it in Kansas City. How's that?
So, Jim, do you have your email address on this thread? Because some of the people asked you for your slides.
Oh, sure. It's not a problem.
Well, while you're getting that pasted, there is a question from Tracy. You mentioned online tools for plotting. What are your favorites, Jim?
Okay, let me just get my email up here. There's my email up there, and we'll figure out how to get people who want the slides. I'll be happy to send them. So, what was the question again? I lost it. I was trying to do something else.
You mean you're having trouble multitasking?
I am. I've told you about that, though.
Tracy asked you at one point. We're
Oh.
talking about online tools for plotting.
Yeah, online tools. All right, yeah. So for plot, I used Dramatica Pro, DRAM. I'll type it. It was developed in Hollywood, and I bought into it about 15 years ago because I was trying to learn how to write novels, and I was struggling with, well, how does all this stuff work? And it's a complicated program, but it worked, and I was able to learn how to write a novel using that program because it forced me to write biographies on every person in every character, write descriptions of all of the scenes, the settings, and then track as each character comes into the story, and then what role do they serve? And this is very different than the way Bob goes about it, which is stream of consciousness, and he's writing without an outline. This was an outline to beat all outlines. It is best described as an Excel spreadsheet that would be the size of a football field. But everything you ever need to know about what you're going to write is going to be in there because they're going to force you to answer these questions. Like, what role does this person play? Well, this person is going to be my mentor, and you can have lots of different terms for that. But a lot of novels will have a mentor character in there. And so then, well, what is it that the mentor is trying to impart on the other characters? And then how is that going? And then you can track themes, you can track your plot arcs, you can track story arcs, you can track character arcs. In my opinion, it was the right thing for me to do at the time. Now, since then, there's probably other software programs that are out there, but that's the one that I used for 2 books. And when I finally get around to the 3rd book, I will use it again.
I see that there was a lively discussion between Troy and Michael about Brandon Sanderson's YouTube videos, writing excuses. Or maybe that's exercises. I don't know. But anyway, it's an interesting that either of Michael or Troy want to expand on your comments or ask.
Yeah, the writing excuses, it's a podcast I've been listening to for years, and they do a 1-week writing workshop on a cruise ship,
Wow.
which is a business write-off. But Anyhow, you take a cruise for a week, and Brandon used to come. He doesn't anymore. He's a little too busy, I guess, writing, but it's part of the writing workshops where they teach. And my wife and I got randomly chosen to have dinner with him, and I think he was a little taken back because I had never read his books. My wife had never read his books, but him and his wife were very charming people, very nice. But anyhow, great writing podcasts, and they're only 15-minute long, and they've been going on for years, so you can listen to them.
Yeah, he has videos. He teaches at BYU,
Yeah,
down in Salt Lake, and he's really good with the students. He teaches a creative writing course, and he just does a phenomenal. I wish I had a course like that when I was in college, but he has an advanced group and like an undergrad group, and he records all of his lectures. So you're getting these university lectures. They're about an hour long. And he'll go over a lot of the stuff like you had, where the plot's going, character arcs, story arcs, and he's got all that on the mega whiteboard behind him. And he's an excellent speaker. He fields questions from the students, and he addresses them. And he's got, I think he recorded in 2024, 2025. He recorded his whole semester, so there will be like 15 or 20 classes on there. And he's just a very entertaining, easy to follow, easy to understand guy, and the courses were great. I finally finished. I started in 2021 when my wife told me I should take all my notes from my platoon leader time in Iraq and write a story for our kids not to read. And I decided to do a science fiction version of it. And I'm not a writer. I'm not an English guy. I'm not a grammar. I didn't do English lit for an undergrad or anything like that. So I had to accept that I knew nothing and I needed to learn. And I started looking around, and I stumbled onto his videos, and I felt my story was kind of easier to write because I already knew the arc. It was just my time as a platoon leader for 15 months in Iraq, and foolish me, I thought this was going to be a real simple thing to write. He just did a great job, and more than anything, it kind of helped me identify as I was sitting there pedaling away on my exercise bike watching these videos. Yeah, I should probably fix that, or that needs to be adjusted or addressed, or at least make sure that I have that covered. But I do highly recommend them if you guys are ever interested in
Who is he
guys who've
again?
made millions at this point. I highly recommend his videos.
Who are you talking about again? Who is he?
His name's Brandon Sanderson. He writes a lot of fantasy. I can post a link actually on here. I don't know. Can I post links on the?
Sure,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
All right. Yeah, give me a sec. But yeah, I highly recommend it. Very, very entertaining, easy to watch, easy to follow.
Troy's comments, if I can jump in real quick. Troy's comments, as far as those of us who want to learn, even if we're starting off or if we've already got 15 or 20 novels in our belt. Bob, I think, is in that category. What number are you up to? But my point was going to be, join our reviewer team, because I can guarantee you're going to learn a lot by reading somebody else's work collaboratively with other reviewers. I've learned so much in the past decade by reviewing other books. So that's a free way of doing two things: increasing your skills as a writer and helping out a fellow MWSA member by reviewing his or her book. So
I second that.
It's all good stuff. Take courses, even if you think you already know how to do stuff. I take courses all the time. Like Yasmin and I are going down to near Silver City into the woods in October, and we're going to do a week-long course with somebody that is a established writer, and we are too. But so what? You'll learn something new every time you take another course. You're going to learn something new. You learn new techniques. You get to try out something without doing it on a recorded YouTube video.
You know what a great way to learn is, Jim? Everybody should go to the MWSA annual meeting in Kansas City. It's just like this, only it's family where nobody fights and you always learn something. If you haven't registered, do it. It's really worthwhile.
All right.
The link is in the chat session now. I also, by the way, put the link, if you scroll up a little bit, to the writer's education section of our website, where this video, along with all the other writer's education series that we've recorded, are available, so you can go back and watch later. I think we have a hand raised there, Nancy.
Yes, I have to tell you something really, really funny. One of the guys in our writing group is a retired police detective, and I always pick his brain when I want to kill somebody off in my books, and especially if I want to figure out how to get away with murder or dispose a body. Well, we decided to go to dinner with our spouses, and we were in this restaurant talking about, I said, I've got a problem. There's this guy, I want to kill him, but I'm not sure how to do it, and I don't want it to be messy. And his wife says, "Oh no, it's happening again." And we were so engrossed, and we asked her what, and she said, "People are starting to move to another table." It was the funniest thing.
Nancy, what happens to anybody who's writing any kind of mysteries like that? There's a group of people that I correspond with, and the same thing happens. We are communicating via email usually about ways to kill people and whatever, and we usually sign them at the bottom for the NSA, the FBI, the DIA, and anybody else who's listening. We're authors. We're not really going to do this.
Right. Well, I wrote a short story about that incident. I sent it in, so I'm waiting to see if it's going to get published.
All right.
I had a similar thing happen. I was on a cruise, 9-month cruise around the world when I decided to retire. My wife and I took her on the cruise, and a number of passengers were doing such crazy stuff. I decided I was going to kill them off, and so a number of ladies on the cruise found out I was doing it. And one morning, I walked into one of the lounges, and they said, "Come over here. We figured out how we're going to kill off." And they named a name, and we sat there talking for an hour. We didn't know that other people on the cruise were listening, and they thought we were seriously planning it. And had to talk to the concierge that we're not going to kill anybody on the ship.
Yeah, you need a disclaimer sign, when you're going to do that. All right. Wes, did you have a new question, or is that your hand from the before? I can't hear you. There we go.
Couple things. Jim, thank you. I always, at the World II Museum, I'm a docent. I go up to there and I just automatically thank them for their service. And the response has always been very, very good, very, very appreciative. But that really opens my eye, because you don't know. I mean, who knows what that person's reaction is going to be. So I will continue to do that, but with an attitude of gratitude, a sincere attitude of gratitude, thanking them for their service, because that's, I never thought about that. Another thing, I registered for the Kansas City conference, but I had to unregister for it because it conflicts with it. The day the conference ends, I'm going to Japan and Okinawa on a tour with the World War II Museum. I'm looking for a hill that my father fought on, and I think I've got a good chance of finding it. But we're not for that conflict. I would be there.
All
I'm
right.
only
Well,
looking forward to the next one, wherever it'll be.
only the shadow knows.
I love it.
Anybody else? And if not, I think we're probably ready to wrap it up.
Jim,
I
thanks
have
for
a
a great
question
conference.
just for the club in general. If anyone has tried to buy more than one of the new anthology books, and if there's a way to do it, I don't know, if there's a discounted way to do it, to order several of the actual paper copies.
John will be the only one who can answer that one.
Or Bob, maybe. Val is the one that said, well, the part of the background story is that we are finally starting to get our own account with Amazon so that we can sell and actually eliminate the middleman, so to speak.
That's what we've heard.
So I think, Bob, do you have any updated information on any available discounts or anything?
No, because we're working it through Amazon. There is probably a way we can work something with Amazon if people want to order more than one to get a discount, but I don't think that's been done. But Val has set it all up, so she'd have to answer that question.
Okay, thanks.
I'll email them.
Let me tell you, Bob, how they do it in Southwest Writers. I had to find this out because I wanted to replicate it. What they will do with an anthology that I've done for my books, for Yasmin's and my books, is we lower the price to whatever it is that you want to sell them for. So let's say the regular price is $25, but you want to offer them to the authors for $15. So you put them up for $15, but you don't advertise it. And you only put it up for like 1 day, maybe 2 days. And then the authors are all told, okay, go on there and you can get as many books as you want at the author price for this period of time. And then as soon as that's over, you put the price back up. And if somebody sneaks in and gets a book at a cheaper price, well, it's not the end of the world. So, yeah, I'm sure you've at least, have you thought about that, Bob, as a way to do it?
In fact, but it's a great idea.
Yeah. I knew that they had done it with Southwest Writers, but I didn't know how they did it until I talked to Rose Kern, then the president, and then it made total sense. You just change the price. It's the simplest way to handle it.
Thank you. That sounds good.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, John, you have put the link up for the conference. Thank you.
But I think Wes has raised his hand again.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Okay. Sorry, I was looking to the right.
Sorry, but yeah, I pulled a Johnny come lately. I had every intention of being here on time. I got engrossed with a text message, and oh, for Pete's sake, I missed about 15 minutes of the program. But I can. Is there a way that I can come back and watch a rerun of it?
Yeah.
Eventually?
John is here. He's recorded it, and within 48 hours, he will post a link.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you can always go to that link. It's on the one that says Writers Education. I have to scroll up here, but it's in the chat. Our regular website, and then Writers Education, and that's where you'll find all of the past ones, including this one. Once I get it edited.
Okay.
So we put in our pitch for the conference. Jack, thank you very much. It's
you're
an
welcome.
excellent pitch. We're gonna do the high sales, high tension sales or whatever. The link is online. We really would like to see everyone in Kansas City. I'd like to thank Jim again for this very great presentation. It was informative. I think we all enjoyed it, especially the give and take afterwards and watching Johnny rock back and forth there. I'm getting a little dizzy. Hopefully he's not. But anyway, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Jim. And we'll see you. And do we know when the next one's going to be yet? Maybe it might be a while, certainly after the conference.
No, it's going to be after the conference when you will have appointed another education czar.
There we go.
I am done and Jack is done. And so we just need a volunteer.
There we go.
Thanks for coming. See you in
Thank you.
Kansas
Thank you,
City.
Jim.
See you, Kansas City. Bye-bye.